and prepare
Are you stable?
some introductions.
Y'all really want it like, here comes the, y'all really want it like, I said so, I keep it cause I'm so I throw the back full line. Into it, I'm all in. I might throw you my courage, I'm good. You think I'm jumping, man, you just think the game is dirty. I'm the type of
So that's us.
So we started looking into the history of the game, and we were thinking, you know, maybe around 1900 it was invented, something like that. But the further we went into it, it was amazing to see how long and storied a history the game actually has. So the first game, we don't know when it was played or who invented it, what brilliant mind came up with it, but the first recorded history of it is actually in the Egyptian hieroglyphics in 1800 BC. You can see that it's probably
very confidential.
So yeah, don't share this with anyone. As you can see, it's probably a very competitive game because they're about to go at it off the table after that game they just played. So the next time it appears in history is in ancient Rome as well. The Romans, being a very noble and logical people, they came up with the no spinning rule, so we can thank them for that recent development in the game. And as we went further and further back, it was amazing to see that every single civilization in the history of humanity all invented foosball independently. So we go to the Middle East, South America, it doesn't matter. Every civilization has had foosball. And then it appears again in our own country's history. It was in the Appomattox courthouse in 1865. Robert E. Lee played a nail-biter of a game against Ulysses S. Grant. Grant ended up winning, and the South had to surrender, and the country became whole again. And then again, we see it on the moon. So we know that Neil Armstrong's first words on the moon were, "It's a small step for man." One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But lesser known are his next words, which were, "Damn, is that a foosball table? I got next game."
Okay, so these are the rules of the game for our table. So first of all, you have the red team always starts with the massive ball in hand, and that a goalie shot is worth 2 points. And then if there's any controversy in the course of play, the Honorable Judge John Fountain Roberts presides. When the first team registers a 7 point, there's a mandatory singing and taking out the ball game, of course.
Yeah, you guys hear this all the time, I'm sure.
We love it.
If a team does get skunked, they are forced to do this walk of shame around the building. So hopefully you don't get skunked.
Only happened once.
If there's excessive noise or foul play, the can result in a yellow card. This is in soccer. Foosball is a very important sport as well. So the second offense can result in suspension from play from the table. Taunting jokes by your opponent's mom, raising superiority of your SoCore team, and questioning their manliness/womanliness are all highly important to the table, of course. And finally, we have losing team knows the winning team shots at Shamrock.
Jamie. Okay.
I just want to say, guys, there's a fact here, a data point that's wrong. So I don't know if you guys did fact checking, but
What was the fact about
you scroll back 2 slides. Okay. You know what's wrong about that slide?
This is the second.
There wasn't a foosball table on the moon?
Yes, exactly. Guys, the man landed on the moon in 1969, not 1962. All right, just want to make sure you know that. Yes. Come on, I mean, that's July 20th of 1969 is one of the most important days in history.
That's what the government tells us.
What's that?
We went to the moon in 1969. No? Okay, that's fine. We move on.
So, all right, just want to make sure you guys need to do some fact checking. But it's okay.
That's what the government tells us. Let's be clear.
So Luke talks about the history of
foosball in general, but also our table alone has a very storied history. Little do most people know that it was actually a project at SoCore. I pulled up the CRM report of its project page and just some facts to share about it. Happened in 2012, one of Cap's earlier projects, and probably one of his best. That in Hagerstown, of course. And if you do see, it is PPA. We do own the table, and it's currently not making all that much money. I would say the real reason why is this warranty. We were only able to get 90 days on it, and it kind of broke down, and we've had to do a lot of O&M work, as Annie will show you some of the work we've done later in this story. But one of the cool things about this project was we didn't even hire a contractor for it. We actually, built it ourselves.
Self-perform, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I have some pictures. This is immediately after it is constructed. Those are all the people that devoted all their hard work to the table, and they're all very proud of it.
We're still here.
And
the 4 of us.
Yeah.
Actually, that crew is a pretty decent amount.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. And this was a pretty big deal at the time that it was going on. Actually, Pete, he went on, got interviewed about it. At TT. Not many companies had done it. And yeah. In addition, he also went on to give a speech.
Yes.
John Kerry was there. Big, yeah. A lot of publicity.
There are some quirks to our table. One of them is, to minimize the noise, because it's mostly a silent game, and so we just wanted to keep it that way. We put a thing of post-it notes against each end so that the ball, when it goes in, it doesn't hit the floor and make that noise. Also, the nuts and bolts come out pretty often, and so we super glue, and then it sounds crazy. We super glue, and then we put one of those paper clips, alligator clips, on to hold it in place.
That's some of the O&M work.
It works for about a month.
Do you have a metric for O&M, like dollars per man per year or something? Per player per year?
It's a lot.
Okay, it's a lot.
It takes a lot of intern hours, and those add up.
Yeah. How many truck rolls do you have to do?
Some of you may know, on April 14, 1865, Abraham Lincoln was
Is this date correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
However, on December 25th, 2012, it was resurrected as came back as a foosball player on the blue team. That's sudden. Unfortunately, on July 31st, 2015, he was wounded again when his screw came out. But the engineers rallied and with some super glue and whatever the other thing is, a screwdriver. He's back.
Nice.
So one of the really unique things about our table is that each player actually has a different face that we put on, as she just showed Lincoln, and I'm going to take you through who everybody on each of the teams are. So first up on the red team, they got a pretty solid goalie line there. I would say 3 of the best goalies of all time. We got Corey Crawford for the Blackhawks, of course, won multiple championships. Tim Howard, USA goalie. Fun fact about him, last year, his face was on every single foosball player. And then something happened when the interns went home for the winter and hibernated or whatever. Some terrible storm must have happened, because when we came back, he was only on one face. So he's still surviving. And then, of course, myself. Defensive line, we got Dylan and Annie. If you notice, Dylan is facing the wrong way. Pretty indicative of his gameplay, I would say.
That's the most attractive line.
The midfield line solid too. We got
That's a really solid line.
Did you know that you were a player?
2 of our own interns who are no longer with us.
You're alive.
And then Donovan is probably the best player on the red team in terms of most goals a game and just general leadership. Of course, he's got that, we all know. And then Jordan. And then you got your offensive line. You got Luke, Jonathan Tays, and this slide's a little bit outdated.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Patrick Kane, because of recent allegations, has actually been kicked off the red team because they thought that he was a little bit too controversial. So of course they wanted to get someone a little bit less controversial. Of course, Donald Trump is now the offense of the red team. Actually, though, Trump refused to join the team unless they built a wall around the foosball table to keep all the illegal non-interns out. So they got a little bit upset and, of course, replaced him with Megan County.
Nice.
And then we have the blue team. The blue team's a little bit better. You'll see their goalie line is probably one of the most magical lines there is. Sonny and Yoda and Harry Potter are probably three of the best players on the whole table. Defense, Luigi and Mario. It's an okay defense. Mario's pretty good. Luigi, no. And then the midfield line is a line of 5 presidents of the United States. Very solid line. You know, you got JFK, Washington, Obama, Lincoln, and TJ, which stands for either Thomas Jefferson or Taco Joint. I'm not really sure. And then on offense, we have 3 of our own. Actually, the guy in the middle, he's a foosball addict and didn't want to show his face. It's bad. He plays when he's even not an intern. He still needs to play. And of course, Tim and Jamie. And like every sport, some players are better than others. So we want to have this award section to honor, you know, the people who stand out. The first award that the committee voted on, the committee consists of just me, by the way. The first award was the Dave Rosenau Award for Resiliency. This award goes to the player that's been through the most and just still goes in and fights every day. And we thought that Dave Rosenau was a good person to name this after because, as you know, earlier in the summer, he broke his foot and he still, you know, showed up to work 3, sometimes 4 days a week. Really put in a lot of time. And this award actually goes to Abe Lincoln. Like Rosenau, Abe has been through a lot, and he kind of mentioned, like, you know, got assassinated once, he came back, got injured again, and he still, you know, puts in the work and does pretty well. Although sometimes his player can't really kick the ball very well because of all the work he's done on him, and the ball sometimes just rolls through him, and he can't really do anything about that. But, you know, he's very deserving of this award. The second award, of course, is the MVP, which I think you all know what that means. And so the committee decided that this should go to Yoda. As I mentioned earlier, that goalie line with Yoda and Sonny are probably the best line out there. He's not the tallest person out there, but because he has such a wide head, that actually helps him as a goalie because you can make a lot more header saves. And you know, on the side, he works at Walgreens, so Ryan gets to donate his time here. The least valuable player, brought to you by Walgreens. I touched on this a little bit earlier. It is Luigi, and this is actually very true if you play on this table. Luigi's rod is kind of broken, so that whenever he tries to kick it, or at least whenever I use him and he tries to kick it, he just kind of like stops and hits the ground. So like that makes him really good at fake outs. You see his strength up there because, you know, you think he's gonna kick it, but then he can't. But his weaknesses are a lot of other things that have to do with being good at foosball. Yeah. And the committee noticed that all the awards went to people on the blue team, so they kind of felt bad that the red team's left out, so they created one more award. Just it's not always about how good you are. A lot of times it's just about how good you look and you are out there, and for obvious reasons they chose Ross Weber to name this award after. And this award went to Dylan Sontag. You know, he's just out there consistently looking good and just being there. He doesn't really put in any stats, but that's not really important. That's not what this award's about. Just look at how majestic he is, and that is why he is very deserving of this award.
So as Annie has sort of touched on, our table has a lot of quirks that make it really interesting and unique. It's not always safe to stand by the foosball table.